Hi, I'm Debbie Harbeck, and I'm a certified life coach working with women in midlife and through the menopause transition. So each week, I'll be sharing the latest information, inspiration, and generate some momentum so you can move forward and feel more in control of your changing midlife body and your life. Let's go. Hi, and welcome back to the podcast. So today I am inspired by the Olympics. I don't know if you have been watching it like I have. I've kind of been binging the Olympics and really just enjoying watching these athletes who are at the top of their game perform on this very public stage. I just get wrapped up in the emotion, in the stress of it all, because I used to be a very stressed out athlete myself. Not at that level, however. Even as I was young, of course, I imagined I could get to the Olympics one day, but I was never an Olympic athlete. And at 51, I don't think I will be, but I remember what it was like to be in those situations at these big events. And it's just amazing to watch them. But at this point in my life, even though I'm not going to the Olympics, I know I just want to borrow this excitement. I think we can all do that. We can borrow this excitement, this motivation that they are giving out. They are just emanating all of this. And we can just take that and use it to be more active in our lives and just be more in our lives in general. So what I'm going to share in this podcast are just some lessons that I'm taking from the Olympics, from these athletes. And these are lessons I think we can apply no matter what age we're at or what stage we're at in life. And I think if we're willing to follow these lessons, we can just get better with age, which is something I know I would love. I think we all would love. So the first lesson that I really take with me from watching these athletes is that it's not about the destination. It's not about the Olympics. It's about the journey it took to get there. We just see this very sort of pinnacle of their experience, but there's been years of work that they've put into this. So I think we can learn from that. I think sometimes we expect when we start doing things like we start exercising, we start eating better, we start doing things that are good for us in the hopes that we're going to see results, and we expect those results really quickly. And I think the lesson we can take is that we need patience on this journey. This journey is a journey and it does take time. So we need some patience. In 2 weeks, we're not going to change our bodies or our situations by making these changes in our lives. We have to wait. It's a long game ahead of us. So I think that is the first learning. We have to be in it for the long haul. And another thing, so the second thing I take away is that these athletes, I'm watching, like this morning, I'm watching these women on the balance beam, and so many of them fell off the balance beam, and some more dramatically than others. And it's just heartbreaking. It's painful to watch, but they all got back up and they all got back on the beam and finished their routines. So I take with me that they get over failure fast. Yes, they fall down sometimes, but they also get back up. And it's such an important thing to learn. It takes a lot of mental training, a lot of emotional strength, but I'm just so impressed to watch it each time. But I think this is a huge thing we can take with us, whether we are trying to lose weight, whether we're trying to get fit, whatever we're trying to do. Failure is part of the process. So we've got to learn to quickly get back up after failure and to know that that's a skill. And when I coach my clients, it's a big part of the process. I actually tell new clients, even before they start working with me, and maybe this scares some of them off, but I tell them that I want them to fail. We work together for 6 months. And in that time, not only do I want them to fail, I know they will fail. I know they're not going to be perfect. And that's what I want, because it's an opportunity to learn, okay, this didn't go well, but it doesn't mean I throw everything away and just go back to where I was. No, you just get back up. You get back up and you try again, or you try it a little bit differently. So we can't execute everything perfectly all the time. But we can fail, we can be compassionate and understanding about it with ourselves, and we can get back up and try again. And sometimes And I find women do this more than men. Maybe that's just my point of view, but I think we get stuck in perfectionism. We get stuck in this all or nothing thinking, like things are black or they're white. But the sooner we can break through those bad habits of thinking that way, then the faster we can get better and we can just progress if we can just learn to let failure happen. So the third thing I take with me is, and like I just mentioned, it's those nerves, right? I was a competitive swimmer when I was a teenager. I was a nervous wreck at competitions. I think more maybe than most, or maybe it just felt that way to me. But competing was scary sometimes, and it was definitely uncomfortable for me emotionally. And what I see as I get older, and many of us fall into this trap, is we move towards more comfort and we sort of try to prevent discomfort. We don't want any discomfort. But of course, progress only happens when you're willing to get at least a little bit uncomfortable. So that's what I'm taking from these athletes that I see, because obviously they're in a very uncomfortable situation being at the Olympics. They are on this huge stage. They're performing these things that sometimes are enormously difficult. And yet they're willing to be in this uncomfortable situation, knowing that they might fail, of course, and that can be part of it. So for us, though, we're not going to be going to the Olympics and we're not going to be on a stage like that, or maybe we'll be on a different kind of stage. But in our normal everyday life, that discomfort can just look like getting up early to exercise when you don't feel like it. A lot of us don't. Or just choosing to spend time on your own self-care and not make dinner for the family. Wow, that would be uncomfortable. Or not eating a piece of cake at the office that a coworker made. That would be uncomfortable. Or leaving your job for a new exciting challenge when you're in your 50s. That could be super uncomfortable. Every day, you and I have opportunities to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations that could move us closer to our goals. And I really believe this is the key at keeping ourselves young as we age, is by challenging ourselves like this. What helps me with this one is believing that when I'm doing that uncomfortable thing, it's making me better in some way. Maybe it's making me stronger or more resilient or smarter or more confident. Whatever the benefit, I keep that in mind when I'm going to do the uncomfortable thing, and that just helps me. And then the last thing I'm taking away from these athletes is that they don't do this alone. They didn't become great without help. They all have coaches, they have therapists, they have team members, parents, family, friends. We need to do the same when we want to do something that's important to us. We need to surround ourselves with support. We need to find a coach like me, or get a trainer, or a doctor if that's what you need on your team, or some encouraging friends, and find others who are doing similar things or who have already accomplished what you want to do. I think support is a lot of times the most underestimated part of our success. We think it's all about, well, what do I have to do? But a lot of it, I think, is getting the support to do the steps along the way. So when I had the goal of leaving my corporate job, which was like 12 years ago, I looked for a coach who could help me get into the mindset and to take the action I knew I needed to take. And I also found others who had left their jobs to become entrepreneurs so that I could have people on my side who could support me in that. When I look back, I wish I'd done these things sooner because I didn't do them all at the very beginning. But I wish I'd surrounded myself with people sooner and not been so concerned about the expense involved or the time involved. Also, part of this one is being able to ask for help. So another big thing we have trouble doing, especially when you're struggling mentally or emotionally. I just watched that Netflix documentary on Simone Biles and how she made the difficult decision to leave the Tokyo Olympics when she felt lost and she hit her emotional breaking point. Of course, when she did this, she had a lot of critics, but she put herself first in a moment that would have been, I think, impossible for a lot of us to do. And she taught us that it's okay to do that. And I think that was a really powerful move for the world to see, because had she not stopped at that point, she risked serious injury. And when we don't stop, when we know we should be stopping, when we know we need to ask for help, we risk serious illness. We risk losing relationships. We risk issues at work that could possibly cost our job. So getting help is always the strong thing to do. It takes more courage to put yourself first than anything else. Of course, we know that, because that's why a lot of us don't do it. It takes enormous courage to be able to withstand the emotions of putting yourself first. So, what do you think? What do you think about the Olympics? Have you been inspired by them to get more active, to get healthier, to just be more in your life? Are you motivated to be a better version of yourself when you watch these people, these talented people on your screen? I hope that you use that energy to push yourself forward and to take in the lessons of the Olympics that it offers us mere midlife mortals, right? We're just mere mortals, but there's so much we could learn here if we're open to it. So we want to have patience because it's a journey. We want to quickly put failure behind us. We want to be willing to be uncomfortable regularly. And we want to surround ourselves with support for wherever it is we want to go and who we want to be. And I think midlife, we have to remember, it's just that. It's the middle. And there's still time to realize lots of big goals, even if the Olympics might not be one of them. So with that, I just want to put out there that I am offering support this fall with group coaching and continuing one-on-one coaching, which is always available. You never want to do this alone. It's so good to realize that there are so many of us going through these similar journeys, and we could do it together, and it would be just that much more powerful. So I invite you to check out my group coaching program. I will put a link in the notes of this show so you can check it out and hopefully join me in September with a bunch of wonderful women who will be going through this program together. And with that, I just want to thank you for joining me today. I would love it if you rate this podcast or even subscribe to this podcast on the platform you're listening. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever. It would give me such a thrill to see that you're enjoying this. And with that, I just want to say goodbye for now. I will be back with a fresh new episode next week. And in the meantime, keep moving forward. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Midlife Momentum podcast. If you want to learn more about working with me, come visit me at debbieharbeckcoaching.com. That's Debbie, I-E, Harbeck with a C, coaching.com. See you next week.